So, what if I told you that getting good with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave? Yeah, we tend to think of finance as this complicated world of spreadsheets and formulas, but in this explainer, we're going to see how the real key to financial success is actually all in your head.
Check this out. On one hand, you've got a guy named Ronald Read, a janitor who quietly built an $8 million fortune. And on the other, you have brilliant financial executives with fancy degrees who ended up going bankrupt. How on earth does that happen? It just completely flips what we think we know about who gets rich and why.
And this really gets to the heart of it all, summed up perfectly in this quote from author Morgan Housel. Financial success isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. It's not about being the smartest person in the room with the most complex spreadsheets. It's about mastering your own behavior. So to really dig into this, we're going to explore 6 powerful mindset shifts. We'll start with why behavior always beats brains. Then, why no one's financial decisions are actually crazy. We'll talk about the real price of investing, the trap of always wanting more, the kind of wealth you can't see, and finally, your single greatest advantage in this whole game. Okay, so let's go back to Ronald Read, our millionaire janitor. He didn't win the lottery, he didn't get some hot stock tip. His secret was, well, it was shockingly simple. He just saved consistently for decades and patiently invested that money. He let the magic of compounding do all the heavy lifting for him. His story is the ultimate proof that good behavior over a really long time can crush raw intelligence that's paired with bad habits.
And that brings us to a pretty surprising idea. No one is crazy. Your financial decisions, even the ones that look weird from the outside, they make sense to you. They're a direct result of your own unique life experiences. What seems totally logical to you might look completely insane to someone else, and honestly, vice versa. It's all about perspective.
Let's take lottery tickets as an example. So on average, the lowest income households in the US spend over $400 a year on them. That's 4 times more than the highest income group. Now, if you're just looking at the math, that seems, well, irrational. But are those people crazy?
Well, let's try to see it from their side for a second. When you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't really see a clear path to saving up a lot of money, a lottery ticket isn't just a financial bet. It's the only way you can physically buy a tangible dream of a totally different life. It's a little bit of hope that feels completely out of reach otherwise. And suddenly, it doesn't seem so crazy anymore, does it? This whole idea of perspective is also critical for investing. We have to completely reframe how we think about the stock market's wild swings. Most people see a market crash and think of it as a fine, like a punishment for making a bad decision. But what if it's not a fine at all?
What if we saw market volatility as simply the fee for admission? It's the price you have to pay to get into the theme park of long-term growth. Just like anything else that's really valuable in life, those amazing returns don't come for free. The fee is the gut-wrenching downturns, and you have to be willing to pay it to get the reward.
Think about a company like Netflix. If you had invested early on, you'd be sitting on a fortune today. But could you have stomached the fee? Back in 2011, the stock absolutely cratered. It dropped 80%. Watching your investment get vaporized like that, that's the brutal price you had to pay to earn those spectacular long-term gains.
And just look at what happens when you try to avoid paying that fee. Let's say you invested in the S&P 500 for 20 years and just stayed put. You'd get a 291% return. Not bad. But if you get scared, pull your money out, and miss just the 4 best days in those 20 years, your return gets slashed to 164%. Trying to skip the price of admission can cost you more than half your potential money.
All right, this next mindset trap is one of the most dangerous out there, the endless, soul-crushing pursuit of more. Social comparison is a game you literally cannot win because the goalpost is always moving.
Let's just play this out. Imagine a doctor, okay? She's earning $500,000 a year. By pretty much any standard, she's in the top 1% and feels pretty rich. But then she buys a vacation home in the Hamptons and realizes her neighbor is a CEO who makes $10 million a year. All of a sudden, her $500,000 salary feels like pocket change. So you'd think the CEO would be happy, right? $10 million a year? Nope. Turns out his childhood friend is Michael Jordan, who has a net worth of around $2 billion. And even for a global icon like Michael Jordan, there's always a bigger fish. He might go to a party and bump into Jeff Bezos, who's worth somewhere around $200 billion. You see the problem here?
So the question you have to ask yourself is, when does it end? The truth is, it doesn't. The only way you can ever win this game is to simply refuse to play. It means you have to define what enough means for you instead of letting the world constantly redefine it for you.
And this constant desire to keep up with the Joneses is exactly why we have to understand the massive difference between looking rich and actually being rich. They are not the same thing. In fact, a lot of the time, they're polar opposites.
See, the stuff we see, the fancy car, the expensive watch, the vacation photos on Instagram, that's not wealth. That's spending. True wealth is the stuff you don't see. It's the money that hasn't been spent sitting quietly in savings and investment accounts. It's the financial assets that buy you flexibility, options, and ultimately, freedom.
This whole thing creates a crazy paradox, right? The very act of spending money to show people how much money you have is the absolute fastest way to have less money. Looking rich is all about spending. Being wealthy is about not spending. It's a quiet, invisible process.
So if the key to wealth isn't a super high IQ or taking huge risks, what is the single most powerful tool for building it? Well, the good news is it's something that every single one of us has access to.
Just look at the story of Warren Buffett's wealth. He became a millionaire at age 30, which is, pretty impressive. But get this, more than 95% of his entire net worth, over $156 billion, was earned after his 65th birthday.
What this shows us is that Buffett's real secret wasn't just being a brilliant investor, it was being a pretty good investor for over 80 years. The engine of his success wasn't short bursts of genius, it was decent returns sustained for an incredibly long time. The most powerful force you have on your side is time.
And really, that brings us to the ultimate goal. The reason to understand all this stuff isn't just to pile up more dollars in an account. It's to gain control over your own life. The real prize, the highest form of wealth, is freedom. It's the ability to control your time, to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today. And that's a goal worth behaving for.